I'm going to chat to Andrew Maren, who's the CEO of ProfitShare Partners. Here again, ProfitShare Partners, and an amazing organization, award-winning fintech, and they've been on a meaningful road over the past few years to really bring that much-needed capital to many SMEs. And in that way, they can build businesses and employ others. So, Andrew, your story is amazing, and I know we'll cover that in a few moments. And then to Lloyd Madurai. Lloyd, I've known you for a couple of years, also Hot 91.9 FM, award-winning radio station. Guys, who listens to Hot 91.9? Let us know. Lloyd would like to hear. And if you don't listen to Hot 91.9, guys, you're missing something. So please tune in to Hot 91.9. It's refreshing, it's entertaining, and it's amazing. And I might have to say this, one of the fastest growing radio stations around. And of course, the founder and MD, Lloyd, a true entrepreneur, very much like Andrew, who's also the founder. So we're not only talking to an amazing initiative this morning, we're talking to two amazing founders and true entrepreneurs who are making an absolute difference in our country. So what we're going to do is that this webinar will focus on how SMEs and emerging businesses can look for new business opportunities, secure contracts and POs, and deliver the goods by partnering with new world fintech firms that allow them to access funds and empower growth. So ProfitShare Partners, ladies and gents, and Hot 91.9 FM are committed to get SA working. Now, you might see this in the press, or you might be hearing this on the radio, but this is coming to you live this morning, and it's all important. So, Andrew, Lloyd, morning to you. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Lloyd. Good morning to everybody participating today.
Absolutely. And just for our guests, what we're going to do, because as you will see, I can tend to talk a bit quicker than most, and I sometimes do interrupt. So if I can ask our guests, as soon as you finish with the answer, if you can just say back to you, Mike, and then I'll go back to Lloyd or whatever, just so we can keep this nice and slow, so people can really get the insights of what this is all about. Marvin, is this not startup funding? Marvin, your question is going to be answered. Glenn, good morning to you. So if you can bear with us, but what's really important, Marvin, and to our other guests, if you've got any questions that you would like answered, please pop them into the chat, and we can answer as many as we can during this discussion this morning. Whatever we don't do, our team will extract these questions. We will give it back to Lloyd and, of course, Andrew to cover these questions. We don't want you to leave without your questions answered. So, Marvin, if you can bear with us for a few minutes, I'm sure that the question is going to be answered quite carefully. So, guys, let's get into this all-important morning. And what I'm going to do is we all need an intro into Get SA Working campaign. Lloyd, if I can start with you first, if you don't mind, if you can give us some insight into the campaign.
Thanks, Mike, and thank you for inviting me as a guest onto this webinar. Funny story, actually, Mike, is you were actually the conduit 3 years ago for what has evolved into the media element of the Get SA Working initiative. In fact, Andrew and I first met at the NSBC Awards held at Silver Star Casino. Both our companies, I think, were in the top 10 for the National Small Business Champion Award. Andrew seemed to be quite impressed at the time by what we were doing at Hot 91.9, especially around innovation and assisting SMEs with these tailor-made packages which delivered ROI. We were doing things at the time that were quite different to our competitors. He started with Hot 91.9 with a fairly small radio and digital campaign with a weekly interview. And about a year later, after that being really, really successful on the air, Andrew, being that typical entrepreneur, bounced an idea off me of how we could really help SMEs even further. He could come up with the funding and we could get the message out together. We could create jobs, we could grow the economy. And I looked at it and I went, a perfect partnership. So when he spoke about funding, and I thought, maybe a few R100,000. And I got to tell you, I nearly fell off my chair when PSP came up and Andrew said, listen, Lloyd, I can provide funding of 100 million Rand. I sat down with my team and we decided to run this over sort of 2 months of pre-promo on air along with digital, and thereafter we needed to highlight this 10 million Rand a month in funding available to SMEs who required a minimum of 250,000 Rand. We plan to do this over 10 months. Now, Mike, this was the first time any radio station throughout the world was doing this. 100 million rand over 10 months. And all of this was planned probably about 3 months, Andrew, and correct me if I'm wrong, before we went into the first lockdown. Now, once we went into the lockdown, we had to tweak our strategy. And that's when Andrew came up with the idea of another 1 million rand in cash to give away to an SME who created the most amount of jobs and was quite innovative at the time. And as you well know, especially when it comes to small businesses, these SMEs were trying to keep their heads above water with the lockdown strain. It was we looked at the period for this campaign and we thought, okay, 12 months is going to be a really, really long time. How could we do this without it becoming wallpaper? So Andrew then decided, let's throw in another 10,000 rand a month through another tech innovation of theirs called GetLine, an app to assist SMEs. And I'm sure Andrew will chat more about the app and what it does. I think here at Hot 91.9, I think many people don't know that we're a community-based radio station, and you sometimes wonder, why would a community-based radio station get involved with an initiative like this? We've been incredibly blessed here at Hot. We've achieved tremendous amount of success over the 5 years of our existence, winning Station of the Year for the past 4 consecutive years. And I spoke about Andrew and I meeting at the NSBC Awards. In fact, in 2018, Hot took the award for the Small Business Champion in 2018. In fact, we believed in this Get SA working campaign from the start. I believed it was innovative, it was groundbreaking, it created sustainable jobs and opportunities, it was going to grow the economy, and it gave SMEs the funding and the skills that they required to become successful. And this is why we've not only supported but partnered with ProfitShare Partners. In fact, this campaign has been so successful that on the Hot side, we've submitted this campaign under the innovation category to the South African Radio Awards for 2021. This campaign has led the way for the way that we're going to see radio campaigns worldwide going forward and being relevant to the audience, profitable, and at the same time giving back to the community. We're on the tail end of this campaign now, Mike, and it still amazes me each time I hear this. We've already given away 70 million rand in funding since we've started this with PSP, and we do have another 30 million rand to go. Over to you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you for that. And before I move on to Andrew, so what are you saying, Lloyd, is that Andrew's got the money, you can spend it?
Well, it's something like that, yes. we tell everybody about this amazing drive, and we do believe in the campaign. It is
absolutely. I mean, I found you guys, what you've guys done, Lloyd, at the station for the community is incredibly amazing. So it's spending money in the right areas on helping others. So it's visible out there, and it's certainly well documented, and it's well done on that. Andrew, your insight on your side?
Thanks, Mike. So as Lloyd pointed out, I mean, we met because of the awards, the NSBC awards, and I thought, that's the year we were in the finals, but we didn't win, and I thought, who are these guys, And so when I heard more about, I mean, I love their music on radio, and I thought I didn't know that much about them, but at the awards I kind of found out, hey, these guys have the same kind of values and kind of visions like us. We want to help people. That's our kind of ethos. And one of these socially conscious businesses that you in business to make a profit, but it's not just to make a profit. You're there to help people as well. And it was great. And we started chatting to Lloyd as well and his team. And initially, I never thought that we could ever afford radio because we were also in a startup phase at that stage. Very small, we've got larger capital lines now, but that's not our money. That's, funders' money. We can only play with the kind of profits that we make out of it. And so I just never thought we could afford radio. And the guys were so accommodating and says, well, let's try this. We did a great show with Bunny. And then it worked so well. And I love their approach, how they help people. I think if anybody hasn't heard the Hot FM story, please Google it or read it up. I mean, I love what the guys do. And then when we came up with this campaign about helping, we want to get people working. South Africa's got this terrible problem, even before COVID, of this total of unemployment. And, it's not just somebody else's problem. It's all our problem. Because if we all go and sort this problem, we make a better society for all of us, for our kids, for the people that come afterwards. If you're worried about crime and all of those kind of things that, affect our economy or our country, it's how can we help? By us helping and trying to get people jobs and try to get our economy going, we start, it naturally solves those kind of social evils. So that's the reason why we got involved. I was very chuffed that Lloyd and the guys saw it the way we saw it. If I went to any other radio station and said, listen, we want to do something like this, I don't think we would have had any kind of budget. And for them to come back and say, guys, we like it, we'll partner with you guys for a whole year or 10 months. I mean, that was amazing. And so I think we talked about it earlier before we went on air about collaboration and why, you may find collaboration as a small business in the most, in not the normal circumstances that you would think. You can collaborate with so many different kinds of people. So that's what the Get After Working campaign is about, just to get people employed, to get people starting businesses or to growing businesses that they already own. And that's what it's about. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, Andrew. Further to that, the joy and the success that you brought because of what you guys do to many small businesses around the country is certainly rewarding and amazing. I know that you've got incredible stories around these, and just well done. I mean, you've made a big difference to many, and we just hope that you can create many more people like you and Lloyd, so we can really make that big difference and well needed. As we do know, unemployment is at a high. It's been tough last year. We've got to remain positive, but employment through small business is the future of our economy. It's the engine of our society, and that's where we all need to lead towards. So certainly well done on that. Lloyd, back to you. Lloyd, the entrepreneur, how did you build your vision?
Thanks, Mike. Hot is still fairly new. Whilst I've been in the radio industry for now, I think it's going on 30 years, I've worked for some of the biggest commercial stations. In around about 2010, I put a consortium together to open up a commercial station based down in Durban, and went through the bidding process. It took a hell of a long time to do, and as a young entrepreneur, you're thinking, I can do this, and it's going to be fantastic, and it's going to be easy, and I've done radio for a long time, so this is a walk in the park for me. I learned a lot of lessons there. We didn't win that bid, and I ended up losing pretty much everything I had. The house, the cars, you name it, went down to pretty much nothing, from being a big name when everybody wants to meet you and wants to have meetings with you, to trying to get a basic meeting, nobody wants to see you. I found out about this little community station based in Joburg. At the time, it was called Rock FM. It had a 1 watt license. They were working as a commercial station back then. It wasn't viable. Went back to the regulator, ICASA, and I went to ICASA and I made the application. I said, look, I want to open up this radio station in Joburg North, and I believe we can probably push out about 200 watts. They laughed at me and they said, this will never happen. Our technical people said, this is not done, that you can't do this. Fortunately, while I was doing work down in Durban, I was investigating new technology that would allow us to do this. Cut a long story short, we managed to get the 200 watts. We work in technology that nobody else is currently using here. We self-provide, we own all of that. But the downside was I didn't have the cash to put this together. So once the license gets granted, I needed to be different. I always believe that, and I use the analogy that hot's like a can of Coke. Coke changes its can occasionally, but when you open it, it's always a Coke. You're not expecting something else, and we can't be everything to everybody. So we found a niche market here in the Joburg North. The DNA of the station was always to have fun. It was to make a meaningful difference. And I said, that's the difference. Let's start by making a meaningful difference in the community, and then the money will follow us. And that has always been the principle of the station. We see it working time and time again. So here I was with this radio station, but you need talent to work on a radio station. And how do you attract talent without any money? And I sold them on a vision. And I said, guys, I've worked with you for many years on radio. How do we bring back the butterflies into our stomachs? When we turn that microphone on, do we feel good? Why did we get into this in the first place? Where's the passion? And all of them sort of looked at me and said, absolutely, I want to do this. And I sort of psyched them up, and they were all happy. And we said, yes, we're ready to go. And then it came to payment. And I said, oh, a little problem here. I can't pay you anything. And you have to train people, because we've just started this radio academy where we want to give back. Mike, we've had 400 people through this academy already. In fact, Bunny Majaja, who Andrew speaks about, who's been sort of running this campaign, comes from that radio academy. And got the guys to believe into what I was doing. And I said, let's think of you guys as entrepreneurs. You go out, you bring in the adverts, the radio station takes a small cut of it to survive, but what you bring in, you can actually keep. And they went, sure, we could make a hell of a lot of money as young entrepreneurs. Let's go ahead and do this. Cut a long story short, this is where we are right now. We started this radio station with nothing. In fact, I think our first amount of money was 50,000 Rand, where somebody believed in us and it paid the rent here and it covered the cost of the equipment. And it was trust. All the equipment was bought on trust. The discussions that I had with people to this day who are still advertisers and still suppliers was pretty much on a handshake. And that is pretty much how we started here at Hot 91.9. You know, we're very innovative by what we do. It always comes down to passion. When we put Hot together on our first day, I wrote down 10 things that we wanted to be, and every year I go back to that and I still tick those boxes and I go, are we achieving this? Even though our turnover has pretty much moved up 20 times. We're in a position where we started off with 2 people employed at Hot. We now employ 58 people. And we give that back to the community. And we've launched Hot Cares. So principle here is, I believe the more we give and the more we help, the more we get back. It's as simple as that, Mike.
Yeah, Lloyd, absolutely. You know, your passion, your perseverance, and your persistence is obvious. And, you know, we always say, you know, if you're true to yourself and you help others, you'll always be okay. And it's a great story. I've heard it before, and I can never stop hearing it more. I just think it's amazing. And where you guys are going and with your team is amazing. And I've had the privilege of being on Bunny's show. What an awesome woman. I tell you what, here again, equally as passionate, and what a great team. So, yes, Andrew, unfortunately, Andrew, you're not going to get away with this one. How did Andrew, as an entrepreneur, how did you build your vision, Andrew?
So I think I always wanted to have a business. I just probably didn't know what. From the time I was a kid, I worked for the first part of my life, I worked for a lot of the large banks, 2 very large banks. And I think what's important about it, I learned a lot. I developed a lot of networks. I learned a lot of how the world works, how a business should be run. And so, for people who are in corporates at the moment, people think, oh, I'm stuck as an employee. That is such valuable training ground. So everything that you go through in life always prepares you for the next thing. I then, in 2005, I left the bank that I was working with. We took a team of guys and we started this business, and we didn't know where our next paycheck was going to come from. And we developed that into a business. We were 4 guys kind of hustling. We didn't know, we didn't have this big pot of cash or anything of the sort. But we got a couple of deals done. We started doing property development, and the reason for that was to pay for the bills. We bought into a listed company. We convinced an institution to give us some money. I think they gave us like 97.5% of what we needed. Getting the 2.5% was also a huge thing for us, but we managed to do it. And so, we started buying up other businesses, investing in other businesses. We lost money a few times. We made money a little more times than we lost. So we got into business. We also got into the media side at one stage. I always tell the story, and not once, twice, 3 times, and we lost money all 3 times. And so we then realized, hey, we got to stick to our knitting. What is it that we know? Eventually when our partners, about 2011, 2012, we started saying, okay, we need to kind of like cash up or part ways, and we all went in our own way. I then had this concept again, which I built with another, the precursor of what we're doing now. We built with another business up in Pretoria. We sold that to a listed company. And then in 2016, I started from scratch. I knew that there was a different way of helping people, small businesses, SMEs, even businesses that become larger, but to your early phase, because I went through it myself. And all of the issues that I went through, I thought, there's a better way to do this. There are people with great businesses or great contracts or great opportunities, but because the banks, and I was in a bank on the other side, because we looked at it in a certain way, guys couldn't get access to funding. And I thought, hey, I can change this model on its head, and I can make it work. And that's how we started. And so, initially, It was very hard to convince anybody to to come join us. I also had zip cash, had zero cash when we started. I managed to get some investors on board. Some of the funds that I did have saved up, I just used that to build out technology, and to say, listen, let's try to build up this technology. It'll happen, So you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself, because when I went around looking for cash, people tell me, listen, we don't think it's going to work. There's a reason why banks don't lend to that sector, is because it's a very high risk sector, and if the banks can't make a success out of it, who are you? And so, and you've got no money, and so, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room today have gone to the same thing, right? You've got this dream, you've got this vision, nobody else believes in it. You don't know how you're going to make it work, because you've got this great dream, but if you've got no cash to get it going, what do you do? And so, to cut a long story short, eventually we just kept on plugging away at it. Convinced a few people to invest alongside with us, convinced a few funders to give us some funds. We went to some wealthy individuals and said, hey guys, we'll give you this great return. Come alongside with us. And, the guys weren't too keen to give us too much, but they gave us some. But what helped us there was, I think, our integrity and, what we did in the past. And so people said, okay, you've done this before, you've done other kind of businesses, you've got a decent name, decent track record. You're not a crook, you're not trying to run away from people. And that integrity helped a lot. So, to the guy, everybody else in the room, I think that's something that in your business, you may not think, you may see people getting those kind of quick rich schemes kind of thing. And you're thinking, oh man, maybe I should cut some corners and because I could be so much more ahead. But sometimes or somewhere in the future, that integrity counts. People look back and say, well, look at this person. I can trust this person. And so that's how we started. So we took the learnings and experience from all these periods in my life, and we built what we believed is the desperately needed service in our country. Over to you, Mike.
Else matters. You don't have integrity, nothing else matters. So absolutely valid point. Before we move on to I just want to note to our guest this morning, we are going to post the contact details. And I must just say, Andrew and Lloyd, the incredible amount of good businesses that are coming through on the chat that require capital is really nice to see. So guys, don't be alarmed. We're not responding right yet, but our team will put the contact details on. So we apologize fast if we don't, because the volumes are quite significant, but we will attend to that. So, and thank you for posting and your request. We really appreciate that. But back to you again, unfortunately, we're getting a lot of requests. ProfitShare Partners, how does the model work, Andrew?
Okay, so we look at the way you need money, or SMEs or early stage businesses need money in a very different way that banks do. Banks will look at your security, your track record, it'll look at your financial history before it can do anything. And there's reasons why they do it. We look at it in a very different way. So we don't need financials, we don't need a track record, and we don't need security. We do take it at time to time when we have to go past our beyond our mandate, or we need to do a deal that's doesn't quite fit the mold. But in that way, we're able to help people who have a good contract with a large corporate or a credible company. And so, very very simply, we look at an underlying transaction. Company A has got this great transaction with, say, a large corporate. You got it with, let's just say Cecil as an example. You've got to provide a machine to it, or you've got to provide stationery to it, right? This could be your very first deal, or you could have been in business for 10 years, but you don't have the capital. Yes, you've got the contract, but how do I go and buy the stationery, or how do I go and buy that machine, or how do I go and import that machine to deliver? So we look at the underlying transaction and we're saying, okay, you are dealing with a credible company. So we know that if you deliver, Cecil will pay you. If you don't deliver, obviously you can't, I mean, Sasol's not going to pay you. And so that's a risk a lot of the banks and traditional funders will say, but how do we know you're going to deliver? I give you this overdraft, I give you this loan. Yes, we know Sasol will pay, but if you don't deliver, Sasol's not going to pay us. We're going to lose our capital. And that's why banks and traditional funders need security. Our view is very different. We're saying, okay, if you've got a credible contract, we know Sasol will pay. Now you've got to prove to us that you can actually deliver on that underlying transaction. I've got to supply them with stationery. I've got to build this machine. I've got to import this machine or whatever, or buy it from a local player and then supply it. You've got to prove to us that you can do that. And what our technology does, it actually micromanages a process to make sure that you deliver. So we get involved with you. So whether it's the first time you're doing a deal or you've done it for 100 times or you're 10 years old, I mean, in business, we will make sure that you deliver. And so by making sure you deliver, and we do this all mostly with technology, so we don't come and sit in your space and hassle you. By making sure you deliver, we then know that your ultimate client, Sasol, will pay. And what's happened, and once you get paid, we get paid. So it's not the deal has taken 6 months or 3 months. There's not like every month you've got to pay an installment and interest and how do you fund that? So we only take the cash when you get paid. So we're involved in the transaction with you. It's still your transaction. But we're involved in it with you. We take a share of the profit and make sure it happens. So what happens to that process now that you've delivered to Sasol and correctly on time every time? Sasol now gets the kind of comfort with you to say, hey, these guys delivered quickly on time. Let's give them another order or a bigger order. And so 90% of our clients grow over 1,000% in turnover within a 12-month period because they now have confidence. The clients that they're dealing with have now confidence in them about delivering. And then eventually what happens, our clients then, after a year or 18 months, the guys have got financials, have got cash in the bank, or their ratios look better, that we lose them through traditional banks. So ours is one of the very few businesses that actually has a business model that builds our clients to lose them. So it's very disruptive. The main thing is we look at underlying transaction. If we're happy that your ultimate client will pay, and we're happy that you can actually deliver on it with our help, then you've got yourself a deal. And it's almost as simple as that, Mike.
Yeah, and Andrew, I would say it's I won't call it a capital model for thousands of small businesses. And so that's the real benefit for small businesses. Would you add further to that, the big benefit for small business? Because it's quick and easy, imagine that it avoids the red tape of trying to, especially in the time of need. And I think that when most small businesses, they've been around a while, when they really need the money, the cumbersome process and red tape to get to that capital is often time-consuming.
Absolutely, right. And we know a lot of our businesses, you don't have there's not a whole financial team and a marketing team and a capital team that goes out and raises the funds. Our clients are 1 or 2 people or 3 people that are doing the sales, doing the marketing, trying to raise the cash. You're doing all of this at the same time. So time is huge for you, right? So ours, we respect that kind of process, and the reason we built it is because we've come from that background. So everything that frustrated us about a bank process, we try to change. Obviously, certain things because of regulation we can't, but everything that frustrated us about it, we try to change. So our process is very quick. If you're a new applicant, it usually takes about 7 days from the time you apply till you get paid out. If you're an existing client with us, it's usually 24 hours for you to get your next advance. So we don't ask for upfront as well. We don't ask for a zillion things. We ask for just a couple of things. We ask you to fill out an online application. We ask you for a few documents, and in those documents, we can quickly assess that, hey, this is the kind of transaction that we want to do. It has the kind of margins that we think would work, and we like the kind of deal, and so very quickly we can say yes or no. So we don't ask you for your mom's birth certificate only to tell you that, listen, we just don't like the deal. So very quickly we want to tell you yes or no. We believe a quick no is also a good answer. So within 24 hours we want to tell you no, and then only when we know that we can do a deal, then we start asking for a bit more detail. But we run all our process parallel. You sign on your phone. You don't have to go into a branch or go anywhere. You can do everything while you're on a job site, while you're at home in the middle of the night. So it's facilitated around helping entrepreneurs where they are. Over to you, Mike.
Amazing. That's what it is. What advice can you give for businesses to reach out to suppliers and get the opportunity to quote and pitch for that contract?
Okay, so we deal, a lot of our clients, or our clients' clients are the large corporates, and we deal with about over 3,000 of these kind of companies. And the biggest thing that corporates have with any small business, think of the very large corporates. I mean, I've chatted to some of them. It takes them 3 weeks to onboard one small business, right? So just the internal process is an absolute nightmare. And that's for one business. Imagine if there's like 100 new businesses looking for work in a corporate. The biggest thing that corporates have is, well, can these guys actually deliver to me? Because if they don't deliver to me, if I go to, I'm thinking for a large corporate, let's use the Cecil example again. If I need this machine, I know if I go and buy it from Siemens, there's no performance risk. I know they're going to deliver. They don't need money from me. They'll deliver on time. Well, we think, so I've got no risk. Here's a small business coming to them and said, hey guys, I can actually make the same machine for you. Your risk as the corporate is, hold on a second, if you don't deliver this thing to me in time, you're gonna impact my production schedule. And so yes, it's a 5 million rand machine, but I'm gonna lose 20 million rand a day in lost production. So that's a big risk. Secondly, this SME now says that, hey, it's a big machine, I need money up front, or I need payment. And so that also sometimes becomes another issue. So it's usually a trust gap, right? So the SME knows, okay, I can deliver this thing, but I just need the capital and I'll deliver to them on time. The corporate is saying, well, they seem like nice guys, I just don't know. I can't take the risk of what in case they don't deliver. And that's the trust gap that we fulfill. With many of the corporates that we work with, some of them don't even know that we're in their supply chain because the clients don't even tell them that we funded via this process. But a lot of them that do know have the kind of comfort that knows that, hey, if these guys are backed by ProfitShare Partners, we know we'll get our goods on time every time. We know that we don't have to, we're not going to take any operational risk, and we're not taking any funding risk. So we kind of given the guys comfort that with these guys behind in the process, we know these guys are funding, we know these guys have oversight in the process, and the reason we have to do it is because if we don't do it, Cecil's not going to pay, and if Cecil doesn't pay the client can't pay us. So it's quite a interesting system how we protect all parties. So the advice that I can give to the smaller businesses is how to get past that trust deficit with the large corporate is by saying, guys, here's my financial partner. It's ProfitShare Partners. We can even give you a letter of comfort up front to say we are backing XYZ SME. If they on this back of this transaction, we will fund them. We'll make sure goods are delivered at a specific time. So it gives them more comfort around taking the chance on this new SME. And so that's worked. More and more SMEs are now, or large corporates are now going this way. And when clients are backed by us, they're absolutely willing to take them on into their supply chain and give them a chance. And I think once 2, 3, 4 transactions goes past, then the corporate has got comfort in knowing that, hey, these guys can deliver. A couple more transactions later, our clients are now moving on to the banks. They don't even need us. So it's just bridging that trust gap initially. And what I can tell everyone in the room is if you've got that kind of trust gap where people are saying, and you may not even know it, they may not even tell you that we don't trust you. It's just, hey, you submitted your profile, you're wondering why you didn't get the work. They're probably thinking, how are these guys going to fund it? Are they actually going to deliver to me? And so, we can step in and say, guys, we can almost guarantee that these SMEs will deliver. And we also challenge the large corporates as well to say, guys, if we taking the financial risk and the operational risk, the only thing that we're looking for you is just give the guys access to market. Let them prove themselves. If they don't deliver, we've lost our funds, not you. Yes, there could be a bit of operational risk, but we have oversight to make sure that these guys deliver. And so we're also trying to convince lots more corporates in the same vein. Give the guys a chance, give them access to market, and we'll stand behind them. And 9 times out of 10, the guys will get access. And I'm sure there's lots of SMEs in this. If you look at your own business journey, you start in the same way. You started with that one contract, and now you've built your credibility up with these larger corporates. It's easier for you to get work. Thanks, Mike.
Andrew, thank you very much. Caroline, thank you for that good comment. This is a good webinar. Will the video be sent to us? The replay will be frequent. So Caroline, don't despair. You will have full access to this presentation, and thank you for your compliment. We're very grateful for that. And an important question. Which industry sectors work best with this fintech model?
So we sector agnostic. We can lend to or provide capital in almost any sector. What we look at is the underlying transaction. So we stay away from high risk or high performance transactions, like let's say things like construction, where we just don't know at the end. There's somebody else that's saying, hey, this wall's not built straight, so break it down and rebuild it. Whereas, in some of the transactions that we like will be, you've got a contract to supply 1,000 laptops, and they've got XYZ screens, and they've got to have this kind of output, and it's got to come in a yellow bag and Pantone colors 7. We like stuff like that we can quantify, because we know that we can help our SME deliver on that specific thing. Where it's stuff or delivery that somebody else looks at it and say, hey, listen, I'm not happy with it. We tend to stay away from those kind of deals. But if you have the kind of clients, if you have a contract with a large corporate, a blue chip, whether it's a purchase order or a long-term contract, 9 times out of 10, we can actually help you.
Right. As you see the statement here, the webinar is being recorded, and you will receive an email with the replay later today. So guys, you'll all get an email a little later with, of course, the link to this webinar. So thank you for that. Andrew, always a big question from SMEs, and always a controversial issue. How do you assess credit risk?
So credit risk is done on a few things. One is, because we know that our SME may not have the credibility on a balance sheet basis, that's why we look at who the SME's ultimate client is. So we know that if it's a larger corporate or a larger credible business, we rely on that repayment to say those clients will eventually pay. We're happy with that payment risk. The second part is the performance risk, which we try to manage through it. And can we manage the risk? So whereas a bank would look at your financials and so forth, we look at, can the client that you are supplying to, will they be able to pay? Can you actually deliver? Is there enough margin in the transaction? So low margin transactions, things like, say, fuel wholesaling, we don't do, because things go wrong. In every single business, and guys will tell you, whether you have a contract or not, things will go wrong. You expect somebody to deliver in 14 days, it takes 21 days. There's last year with COVID, especially initially, we thought a lot of shipments that were delayed. You thought it was going to be delivered in 60 days, it took 180 days. So things will go wrong, right? So we look at that's why we need people who have, or transactions that have a bit more margin in it, so we can weather some storms. If there's any issues, we know that we've got a bit more cash to play with. People have priced incorrectly, so we've got a bit of fat to play with again. So that's how we look at risk. We look at more transactional risk. When it comes to the normal credit side, where people look at, hey, I've got, I don't have a great credit record, that's not the biggest issue for us. So, unless you're unrehabilitated insolvent, or you've got, you've been borrowing from lots of credit providers recently and you just haven't paid back, or we can see from your integrity that you just don't have the propensity to pay back people, we won't lend you. Then that's where integrity becomes important. So I think our credit risk model is very different. We focus on the underlying transaction, and we look at the shorter term transactions. So we like 30, 60, 90, 180 days. We don't do anything more than 365 days. To give you an example, and some of the people's comment online is, so if you wanted to buy a bus to sell to, I'm not sure why I'm using Cecil, but Cecil says, listen, we want to buy this bus from you, so you got to kit it out and deliver it to them. You got to go and manufacture the bus with one of the big OEMs. You got to kit it out and deliver to them and say it takes 3 or 4 months. That's what we can do. But if you then say, listen, I need the bus to transport people for the next 5 years, and that's how you'll pay us back over the next 5 years, then that's not our type of business. That's more like asset-based finance. So what I suggest to anyone, if you're not sure, I mean, just give us a shout. It's an obligation-free quote. It doesn't cost you anything. You can quickly learn how we operate. We built a lot of bespoke models for our clients where we've helped clients grow in a lot of sectors where it wasn't our typical model. But because they proved to us that, hey, I've got credible clients paying me at the end, I can really do this. I've got a healthy enough margin. Come alongside me. We've got tons of those kind of cases where we've been able to help businesses.
Thank you, Andrew. Business owners are asking us if you could please talk us through the application process.
Sure. So the application process is quite simple. You go online onto our website, ProfitSharePartners.com. Click on the Apply Now button. It'll ask you it'll probably take you about 10 minutes. It'll take you through an application form, which you fill out, obviously online. It'll ask you for about 2 documents. 1, we just want to see who your contract is with. And 2, what are your costs? And that's it. That's it for initially. What that tells us is that, 1, we're happy that the client that you're dealing with is credible. So if you came to us with a client, say a government department that is in administration, or a certain municipality, or a large corporate that we know that is in financial trouble, immediately we'll say no, and we'll tell you why. So if we think there's merit in that deal, that we're happy with the kind of performance risk, we're happy with your buyer, we're happy with the kind of margin you're making, we'll then within 24 to 48 hours give you an actual term sheet, well, more like a quote. And the quote will tell you, based on what you've given us so far, this is what it's going to cost you, and this is what we estimate the time frame to be. So you can then say, it's okay, cool, I'm happy with the pricing, or no, I'm not. So after that 24, 48 hours, you sign off online that you're happy with the pricing. We then ask you for some of the other docs. Send us things like your copies of your ID, sometimes your bank statements, send us details of your suppliers so we can contact them. And during that process, we then start building up we get the approval on your transaction. We do all the background checks or the due diligence, which happens relatively quickly in about 2 or 3 days. That's if you're a new client. If we're then happy at that stage, we then send you a contract, also electronically. Once you sign the contract and send it back to us, we then start dispersing. So we pay out to all your suppliers, depending how we've structured the deal. 9 times out of 10, we pay your suppliers on your behalf. And what we do is we work with a few banks locally. We then open a new bank account for you in your name. So it's not our account, it's your bank account. And whenever you are dealing with us, all you've got to do is invoice via that account. So 30 days later, or 60 days, or 90 days later, when the funds comes back in, we check what's due to us, and we pay the balance wherever you bank. And it's as simple as that. And so we then, the second time around, if you're doing your next deal, the process probably becomes, you tell us, thanks, I've got another order with the same client. And it probably takes us about 24 hours to 48 hours to get your cash out to you. So it's a very quick, very simple process. All is online. We try to tell you no very quickly if it's a no. We try not to string you along and ask you for too much information and then say no. But yeah, it's definitely a much easier process than going to a bank.
Right, Andrew, I'm going to give you some breathing space for a second. Okay, for the Get SA Working campaign, there's 1 million prize for a business that has been approved for funding. Lloyd, when does this campaign end? And can business still qualify for the funding and stand a chance to go into the 1 million rand draw? So back to you, Lloyd. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Well, the quick answer is yes. You can still still into this. As I said earlier on, we're on the tail end. There was 100 million rand worth of funding. 70 million has already been dispersed through Hot 919 and ProfitShare Partners. So we've got about 30 million rand to go. The campaign does come to an end at the end of April, and in the beginning of May, we will allocate that 1 million rand. And all you have to do is quite simply go to hot919.co.za or getsaworking.co.za, and all the information sits there.
Great, Lloyd. And yeah, I just want to say to you, Andrew and Lloyd, thank you very much. But before we close off, I just want to say to all our delegates and our guests this morning, it's been absolutely awesome. Now, this Q&A is going to be a tough one, Andrew and Lloyd. I'll tell you why. It's because there's quite a few hundred applications for capital. So all I can say to you guys, is there an email? I know we got your ProfitSharePartners.com, Andrew. Is there kind of an email that someone can get direct access and just to answer a couple of questions that they may have? But I look forward, of course, we will disperse these questions back to you. But if there's anybody now who would like please send them a nice email and be nice to these guys, because many people apply for capital sometimes aren't that nice. I'm just joking. But of course, if you get an email address or a contact address where they can email you or Lloyd, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Perfect. So I think the easiest way is just to send us mail us on queries@profitsharepartners.com, and we'll quickly get back to you. I mean, if you have the harder questions, we don't mind. Just some of the questions that's gone through here is, we don't, as long as you're an SME or a business that's starting up, our typical clients are clients who are around, been in business for probably around 5 years. We've done business or less, or just starting out. We've done a business with a lot of clients who have been around for 10 years and more. I've seen some of the questions there. Race is not an issue for us. If you're a business, you're a business, and we don't care who you are. If you've got a credible deal, we'll back you. And I think the easiest one is just, guys, if you're not sure, just chat to us. Give us the opportunity. We'll very quickly, I promise, we'll answer every single one of your questions. Send us a message, and very quickly, if we can't help you, what we try to do, and that's our ethos of our business, we try to refer you to somebody else who can, or we try to give you some kind of guidance around it. So try us out. We're happy to take any kind of queries. I personally look at that queries inbox myself. So please, if you have any questions, you want to just bounce an idea past us, please use the queries@profitsharepartners.com, and we'll gladly assist you.
I think the important point there, Andrew, is that we ask everyone, don't assume that you can't get capital. I think that's the biggest issue. So don't assume, rather, no matter where you are, rather drop an email, and within a few minutes or a very short period, you'll get to know if you're the kind of business that can qualify for capital. And that's important. It's often like when we do these awards, the people that assume that they wouldn't win an award often do win the award. So please don't assume, rather drop them an email, see where you stand. And I know you touched on it just now. A couple of questions came through, Andrew. Your point of view on startups. If you could just quickly touch on that.
So startups are, if you're looking for funding and you're a startup, as we said, we won't give you funding to set up your business. We are looking for the startups that has landed their first contract or will land their first contract. So you'll say, yes, I've just started my business, but I've got this great concept. We'll back you as long as you can sell it to a credible partner. So if you say, I've come up with this new machine, but I don't have the money for it yet, we won't give you the money to build it. We'll say, okay, if you can sell it, we'll fund you to build it. Nothing stops startups. It's just you need to have a sale, and we can help you on that very, very first sale. And we've had a number of clients. I mean, through the Hot FM campaign, we've had a number of people coming to us and say, listen, I've got this idea, and we've gone back to them, given them some advice, and say, listen, we'll happily back you. So if you're going to a meeting, here's a letter of support from us that you can confidently walk into that meeting and say, listen, I've got a backer that if you give me the order, they will help me fund and deliver it.
Right. Andrew, thank you. We'll start with you. If you could, on a closing message, your powerful closing message to our audience this morning. Thank you. I'd be grateful.
A powerful closing message is stick with passion, and I believe that the money follows. In fact, Mike, what we've put together as well is that we know that one of the biggest problems that entrepreneurs face at the moment, and SMEs face, more importantly, is advertising and marketing. So what we've decided to do here at Hot 919 is launch a deal called Lock and Load. And you can go over to our website, hot919.co.za, where it's specifically for SMEs, and we've slashed the prices by 70%. We could get your ad on air within 2 hours, and we'll talk you through the process. So whether you take 1 ad or 20 ads, we'll do a deal of up to 70%, especially for SMEs.
Lloyd, thank you. And I know we've had incredible feedback on the Lock and Load, and well done. You've really come to the party, not only in these tough times, but in general times. So well done to you guys there, Lloyd. It's a great campaign. Andrew, your closing message. Thank you.
So I just, want to tell everybody in the room, firstly, thanks, Mike, thank you for all the great work that you guys do. I think you create a very important platform for businesses in this country. And a lot of us small businesses, we don't always stay small businesses, we grow. And the fact that you guys have over 130 or 140,000 members is just proof to that. It's also the support of knowing that you've got other people, as small businesses, we're not alone. There are other people. I think collaboration is important. I love the kind of support that you give SMEs. So it's not just about trying to sell them anything. It's about, you always provide this kind of platform to, like today, how else can you access capital? How else can people get into markets? And I think you always champion that cause. So for that, we're very grateful. And I think the people in this room, to support NSBC. I think the Hot side as well, I think, they've been incredible. From a small company like ours, when we first started, we never thought we could afford radio. The guys at Hot just bent over backwards, and they've got a passion for small businesses as well. So you're dealing with people that are, have a passion for it. And a lot of the times is, whether we're chatting to us or other people, give away your advice for free. Help other people, help them develop. It costs you nothing to say, you won't always be a part of the deal. If somebody says, listen, I can't deliver it, but why don't you go chat to my competitor? I promise you, those kind of things come back to you. Just help people on their journey, and very quickly you'll see how people help you on yours. But I think we've all got to, we're all in this kind of boat together. We've got to make the decision whether we're gonna just sit back and lie back, or we're gonna roll this thing forward and go somewhere. So I think the best time, I think, for in any SME's life is now, when we have all of these major issues in the world and all this uncertainty. That's when SMEs make their money. The large corporates, when everything's going well and everything is going swimmingly well, why would people take a risk? Why would large corporates sell out these businesses? Why would they look at new suppliers? Why would they close down stuff? And there's no real place for us to enter. Now with all of this uncertainty, there's so much of opportunities for smaller businesses like us to take advantage of. So I just implore everyone, you can have a negative attitude, or you can have this can-do attitude and just say, listen, I'm going for it. We'll try to help you wherever we can in the journey. And you've got great people to support you, like the NSBC, Hot FM, and the like. So just wishing everybody good luck, and please give us a shout if you think we can help you in any way.
Right, thank you guys. Great you guys have been on board, and to our delegates and in the room today, because of you, we can do what we do. So we're really grateful for being involved this morning. And if you want to get hold of the team, and you need that capital, and if you need to get your business on air, an amazing special, please talk to the guys. So guys, all the very best, anyone, go out there and live for dream, and we'll see you next week. And don't forget, another big one, Sales in Indaba. We'll be interviewing the Q&A, one of the world's top sales gurus, Mark Keating. It's all over Hot 919. So guys, if you want to register, please go ahead and register. salesindaba.com. Guys, thank you very much. Take good care. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, everyone. Keep well. Bye.
Bye.